Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. Buildings have just gone live in Mechabellum and well, I've already been testing. I've been playing against some of the very best players and today's video is going to be against none other than one of 401's strongest, Zemp. Yeah, the buildings they're interesting. I know that, opinions vary. Some people like them, some people really hate them, some people are neutral. I'd say I'm more in the middle. I do really enjoy the variety that it's bringing. I feel like, I get to test stuff again a bit more. I get to play around with different just concepts for strategies. And today's video is kind of one just like that. I started out with Stormcallers and Arclights, which, I mean, as some of you may know if you've played the patch, Stormcallers are currently very, very strong. But this will not be a typical standard game. I will actually be transitioning to aggro at some point in this game, and I've had quite a lot of success doing it across multiple games, but we will be starting out more defensively. My opponent has a pretty aggressive pack, or at least that's what it used to be, with spiders and avoid eyes, and he is a supply specialist, so very, very strong specialist. We're a missile spec, not the most amazing. I mean, spiders are not ideal targets to hit. I guess the void eyes are, as long as they don't hit that level 2 with absorption, because then they can tank the missile. And I decided to set up asymmetrically. Now, the idea behind this is I have a anti-armor cannon, which we call Big Chungus on my stream, on the left side, and I have a chaff clear turret on the right. Now, I expected him to try and push into my small turret if he decided to go asymmetrical, because the big turret is kind of better against things like void eyes and spiders, and the small cannon really isn't. It doesn't deal much damage whatsoever, and it would simply get stuck. Like, look at this, right? Like, big turret here, we didn't even put that much in front. We'll simply be able to take out a spider all by itself, and while it's reloading now, I'm more than happy with that. It will go down, but the right side went swimmingly, and that kind of is like the thought process, I feel, that goes behind these buildings. It does kind of slow down the early game, though, in a way, as, well, setups become slightly more predictable. Now, he went for a symmetrical setup, which is not at all what I expected, but it still works out pretty well for us, and I'm happy with how things are going so far. Now, round number 2, I would likely have to watch out for some anti-air, if I can get my hands on it. There is a redeployment available. There's a mobile beacon as well. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we want to pick up that mobile beacon since, long term, if Stormcallers show up, getting an additional mobile beacon to kind of distract his Stormcallers with crawlers wouldn't go amiss. And the card is 50 cheaper than buying it from the tower. So, if I have nothing specific in mind, why not simply go for that? I can still deploy 300 cost units if I want by picking this. I can still go for something like a Phoenix plus a Chaff if I want to. So really, it doesn't hinder me whatsoever. And that's why I think eventually I will end up picking the mobile beacon. There is something to be said for redeployment too, I guess, to go back into a more symmetrical position and move the Stormcallers across. But I was pretty happy with my setup so far. And yeah, you can see that we will pick that mobile beacon. Now, I already have triple crawler, or triple arclight, sorry. So really the only thing I'm looking out for here is some upshoot. Now, I at this point, I didn't know yet if I wanted to go into aggro. And I didn't really feel like playing Phoenix. My setup on Phoenix doesn't have something like Elite Marksman. So it's kind of weak in long range matchups if the game goes very, very long. And that means I'd rather go for something like Marksman here. Even though it might not be ideal into things like Void Eyes. It takes a lot of shots to take out the pack. I felt like this would scale better. And it was just a safe pickup to try and at least combat an enemy Phoenix if it were to show up. Now, my opponent doesn't go for that at all. He goes for double Stormcaller as well. Now, the other thing about walls like this, especially symmetrical walls in the middle, is that it feels like people have been playing way more Fangs than they did previously. The chaff clear turrets, I guess, help out quite nicely against early crawlers, and the walls kind of prevent you from missiling any enemy units because they do aggro missiles. And yeah, it's interesting to see that just more Fangs have been used as of late. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing for Stormcaller boards, though, because Stormcallers can be quite decent into Fangs. You can see that I'm experimenting with high explosive ammo. I'm actually not running fire at the moment. I do think fire is quite useful, but it's more expensive. You lose range, and, well, hounds do exist with the fire extinguisher tech. And so I'm happy to kind of test things out here. Looks like we will end up winning, if only barely. And that sends us into round 3, where the unit drops show up. Now, here on the unit drop round, I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, nothing really screams standard. I don't want to be stuck playing sabers in standard, especially against storms. Raiden isn't amazing here. It's not a super long range unit. It's not great into like fangs and spiders. Typhoon is an aggro unit, and so is Wraith. And so I felt like, you know what? Why not just, you know, flip a switch and try and abuse the fact that my opponent has been really setting up greedily to try and play a long-range matchup, right? Like, the fangs are all behind the towers. The units are really far back. So why not try and punish that? Let's use the unit drop, and let's go for something, you know, aggressive. Let's go for some ball wraith action. So I pick up a steel ball, I pick up a crawler here on the shallow flank, and this is something that I've done a lot myself, which is using these diagonals more and more. You already used to do so for aggro, but they seem to have gotten even more important as of late. The shallow flanks, the deep flanks, and kind of playing around this area of the map, because rarely will you find walls there. And if you do, it tends to be because both walls are on the same side, and then you can do it on the other side of the map. Opponent goes for Wraith as well, throws it on my flank. I have a marksman over there, but it's not going to be looking at it. So yeah, we will get debuffed at some point. I guess it'll just come down to whether the marksman can chip it down somewhat, and whether my Wraith can prevail. Steel balls will get in. Nice missile there to kill the storms. And you can see my opponent even more greedily setting up there with even more late fangs. And I think this bodes very well for these type of late aggro transitions if you're comfortable with them. Because you can kind of punish your opponent, right? Like, the type of positioning that you would use for defense is not the type of positioning that you would want to be stuck with if you're playing standard, and vice versa. So suddenly he has all of these fangs in a column behind the tower. I can put a sledgehammer up top left or top right and start pulling all those units away and really open up those towers. And once you get to like round 4, round 5, the buildings start to fall off in how useful they are. The walls are still decently useful, but the cannons are really starting to get obsolete by that point. Now, it's a close affair. I did get debuffed, and it's gonna be a Wraith fight, but mine is still full health, so we should be completely fine. And we will win round number 3. Now, entering into round number 4, we've got, I mean, not the most interesting cards, but Wasp Swarm is available. I am a bit concerned about my backline here because I have nothing to block a Wasp. There is the Wraith, of course, but I thought he would sell it, and really, I am not looking to try and deal with a level 2 Wraith, and then him just selling it, and my units being completely out of position and out of the fight, frankly. So I was okay calling a bluff here. I felt like I just needed to try and start mounting my offense, because at the end of the day, you know, while I can try to abuse his position, the way that he's placed all of his units in the early rounds, my units also aren't necessarily in a good spot here to try and back up my newly added Wraith. So we're going to go for this Wasp on the left, and I am really looking to go for early range enhancement here on my Wraith. I think it's very important. It's going to be my most powerful unit, right? It has the level, and against the enemy board, it can pretty much kill everything, aside from maybe getting stuck a tiny bit on the tarantulas, but they're low level for now, so I think we should be fine. I go for another Wraith on the right side as well, and another Steel Ball, and that's where we can try to use these diagonals, right? That's the thing about this type of position with the 2 walls in the middle. The sides are exposed and don't have any buildings. We also get to use our mobile beacon. A second one would be available on the tower if we need it. Opponent leaves his Wraith though, calls the bluff. It's a good move to do. Try to, you know, not preemptively react to everything your opponent should be doing, and sometimes just test if they actually countered. And in this scenario, I most certainly did not. And so it will cost me. But my Wraith already went down anyway before the turn ended. So it looked like we weren't meant to win this round either way. Marksman trying his very best. Right side Wraith, frankly, doing quite well. But, I mean, it will get stuck on a spider here. This one's only level 1, unlike the level 2 on the other side. And the Phoenixes my opponent added are plenty to take down my Wraith. So a powerful round here. I will take a fair bit of damage. More than a fair bit, sending me down to 2.3k, almost halving my hit points. But now we know what we're up against. Advanced Power System shows up. I quickly pick it up. Very, very powerful card for aggro. Allows you to push in quicker, and speed is a super, super valuable stat. And I have a Missile Strike available, so we're just going to try and hit the Stormcaller, the Phoenix here. I mean, this is a very juicy target to hit. And more Phoenixes getting put down here from my opponent. That's a total of 5, and Zemp is kind of known for this type of mass Phoenix play and defense. Really likes to click Quantum Reassembly. I finally decide to put a Sledgehammer here in the top right. And looks like my opponent was thinking of putting a missile back there, but he undoes. Just to be able to grab that Quantum Reassembly and temp speed on top of things as well. Picks up that Nano Repair Kit on the Wraith. And I just decide to ignore it yet again. I will simply put down a missile. If it's still there, it's going to slow it down. I've got the level tower. I can't be bothered trying to deal with this. It is going to cost me far too much investment. I'd rather try and push in, perhaps get a tower debuff and kill all of his units. And then we'll see later if we can actually kill the Wraith if it's still there. But yeah, Quantum Reassembly. I said that it was something that he liked to do. And well, here it is. Tons and tons of Phoenixes. If we aren't able to kill them all around the same time, they will start spawning back. Which is going to have to... Well, going to mean that we need to deal with double the amount of Phoenixes, right? 10 packs in total if all of them respawn. Left side, we're not doing too poorly. And the Marksman is doing a decent job, at least, of cleaning up some of the Phoenixes. But yeah, the Wraith eventually does get my tower. And with the debuff, I mean, this round is a lot closer. The Marksman, again, is in a good spot. Manages to take out 2 Phoenixes. We'll take it. The Wraith, doing its very best, will take out the remainder of the Phoenixes. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to a Wraith fight, which Zemp will win. But I'm not too unhappy about that. Now, round number 6, we get more unit reinforcements. There is a Farseer in here. Could be nice to deal with the Wraith, but again, I can't really be bothered. And at this stage, I think, well, my opponent might just end up selling that Wraith because he could want to retrieve the item and throw it onto some of the bigger units that are offered here. And he might not want to have this around if he expects me to actually pick something like that Farseer to dispatch of the Wraith. So instead, I'm thinking, well, some frontline would be good. Wraith tends to be very powerful, but only if you can manage to keep it safe. And so that's why it typically gets paired with things like Steel Balls, but Rhino is another fantastic unit for this, and it tends to have slightly different counters to Steel Balls, so pairing the 2 tanks together should prove to be very annoying. Again, you can see here the way that I've set things up is in the corners. I've got a shallow flank crawler and then a crawler here in front to block any missiles. And we're just going to beacon things in. Rhinos slightly further behind, 3 squares between the crawlers and the Rhino so that I cannot get missiled and slowed down. And we're simply going to try and get to those towers, grab those debuffs. Lucky for me, finally, Zemp does decide to sell that Wraith. And yeah, I think my greediness of not wanting to react does pay off in that instance. Opponent tries to do something on the flank here. I mean, he does have the range, I guess, on the Phoenixes, so hoping that he can lock on to my tower. But, well, my Wraith is over there, and I'm fortunate enough that I did not beacon this Wraith, so it will actually be able to turn, take down the Phoenix, protecting us from getting debuffed. Now we're pushing in the Steel Balls. They're trying to do whatever they can. Rhino will get close to tower, might be able to chop it down. It is level 2, so the DPS is rather high. 1, 2, 3, there we go. 7 seconds of debuff. Extremely useful. Crawlers making their way across as well. And we're going to be able to take out all of the Phoenixes on the right side. Left side Phoenix is now also getting attacked. Tower is under fire. We will take that down. 7 more seconds. And as we clean up the remainder of the Phoenixes, it just comes down to that level 2 melter that my opponent picked up. Now, I will kill my final Rhino, but it's surrounded by crawlers at this stage, unable to shoot at anything useful. And even though it does have a nano repair kit and it's able to tank a ton of damage, we're able to win. And now we're starting to stabilize. So the game is far from over, and it seems like our transition has paid off. Now, round number 7, Electromagnetic Blast shows up. Not really something I can worry too much about. And it's not something that I want to make use of, because I would likely only be able to hit... I guess I could hit triple Phoenix, but I felt like the Phoenixes weren't even causing me that much trouble. So I'd rather try and invest into something like Heavy Armor and throw it onto a Steel Ball to really try and push in. Because at the moment, it felt like my Wraith were doing well, but my front line was still lacking somewhat. And so you can see that's exactly what we're going to go for. More Steel Balls need to be added. I have adequate Chaff Clear. 3 Wraith is not perfect. I would likely want to have 4, but it's good enough for now. We also managed to find some money to grab that second attack enhancement last round, so the damage really isn't bad whatsoever. Opponent goes for High Explosive now on his Spiders, and I add 2 level 2 Steel Balls here on the left to try and work together with this one. We are loaning Temp Range, Temp Speed, important to pick up at this stage. And that's going to be able to buy us another Steel Ball and even level the one here in front. So, I mean, look at this, right? It's starting to look very scary. Mechanical Division is a ultra powerful tech. I would argue one of the best in the game in terms of how much value it provides. And it really can be a pain to deal with. The only ways really to deal with it is to have your own Wraith, something like Scorch Vulcan, or try to hack them with hackers if you see mass ball investment from your opponent. Aside from that, there really aren't that great answers. I mean, you can try to EMP them, but, well, there are some photon coating techs in the game, so that doesn't always work either. Oil gets put down here on the right side. It is a lot smaller than it used to be. 20% of its area got reduced. Crawler on the flank distracts us for a little bit, but lucky for me, my Steel Balls managed to get in front of my Wraith still, so it will be safe. Left side, that beacon straight towards the Melter, as I do want to take it down before going to his tower. And, I mean, look at this. We're doing so well. Debuff will come through. Wraith still alive, able to chip away at those spiders. And now we're making our way across to the right side of the board. These marksmen, by the way, have been doing really well. I haven't invested in them whatsoever, but they've been doing a fantastic job of kind of helping out with the DPS. You know, attacking those spiders, taking down a Phoenix here or there. You know, kudos to them, because they weren't necessarily part of the plan or the comp, but they were doing a good job nonetheless. Wraith here going to clean things up. Not a massive win, but we stay ahead, and, well, this comp does scale very, very well. Round number 8. And some good blue spells show up. Electromagnetic Impact is what I expected him to pick up, since he might be able to hit a couple of my Wraith. I guess he would only be able to hit the one. I thought he would try and hit this pack because it has like Steel Ball, Wraith, Rhino, Steel Ball, and it has the high level Wraith at that. So I'm kind of thinking about redeployment to be able to move my Wraith and perhaps start an attack on this side. Since there is the oil on this diagonal, I could maybe beacon across and really try to pressure over here in the middle. Because at this stage of the game, I have money to spend, and you can missile these towers down, and people often will be trying to kind of position their units outside of the walls. And they think that the wall kind of provides them some cover, which it does, but it can get missiled, and then suddenly there's a bit of a gap behind it that can be exploited. So we redeploy the Wraith to the right side. And we should just be adding some Steel Balls to the mix here. I am selling a Rhino just to retrieve some money, since that right side Rhino wasn't doing too hot. And I don't have a ton of money left because I did click Floating Artillery Array. I felt like it was needed at this stage. Just going to pick up 2 more Steel Balls. Temp Range, Temp Speed has been picked up. We are loaning. Got to pick up that missile. And 150 left. I probably should pick up that level. Not sure what I'm going to be doing here. Looks like I just pick up another... Okay, I pick up a second mobile beacon. Not too bad. And that's going to be it. The EMP, though, hits us on the middle Wraith. So, sadly, those Steel Balls will get EMP'd. It means they won't be spawning any crawlers. which makes a big difference. And look at that. EMP has been picked up as a third tech on my opponent's Phoenixes. And suddenly, things are not looking too hot. My Wraith is in a ton of trouble here. And my Steel Balls are just not able to provide that front line that I need. Now, we have about 2k hit points left, and I really do hope that we survive. But the hit points are going down very quick. Oh, 156. Okay, we're still in this. And round number 9, we do get unit reinforcements. Nothing here looks too amazing, in my opinion. Sandworms with MacDiv is nice, but I really need something to kind of provide Photon. So what I was looking for is Overlord, to go Photon Overlord, but that is not in the packs. However, there is a triple Farseer drop for 50 credits. And I think to myself, maybe I should just be content with that. I know that I won't be able to Photon my Wraith, but that might just be good enough. If my Steel Balls can just die and spawn their crawlers, then they should have enough frontline for my Wraith to stay out of dodge. Ideally, right, my Wraith never gets hit, and if they do, it'll be well over 20 seconds into the round when Photon's already worn off. So having that additional kind of air Photon in this case shouldn't even prove to be that useful. So instead, I just pick up the Farseers because it's, you know, free drops, and I go Photon Emission to just cover the ground units in Photon. We're going to go for another mobile beacon here. I'm kind of trying to pull these guys closer to the Farseer. Hopefully they'll be able to catch some of that Photon coating. And we're simply going to add, I think, more Steel Balls and more Wraith. So another Wraith gets added to the board here on the left side. And then I think we also pick up another Steel Ball. Yes, we do. Temp range, temp speed. Once more, very important. We're missiling those barriers down. Opponent goes for Shielded Fang and MacDiv Sandworms. But if our Steel Balls can kind of provide the front line that we need, and, well, when they die, spawn their crawlers, we should be fine. Look at that. Lots of Photon coating hitting. Only one Steel Ball there hasn't been coated. Worms are going to get locked pretty fast, and they'll die relatively quick too. And keep in mind, my 8-gun Wraith has double attack enhancement, so it can quite easily deal with anything mid-sized. So the larvae that spawn from that Mechanical Division Sandworm really don't pose too much of an issue. We get to the tower fast, we take both down. That's 2 7-second debuffs, and now we're just moving in to try and kill those Phoenixes. I don't know how much this is. We got some Farseers in there. I mean, all of these units deal about 250 damage. We need 1600 to finish off the opponent. And that will be enough to seal the deal. So there we go. Close affair. I mean, we almost died. Luckily, we were fortunate enough to survive, and we got to have another kind of chance at countering that EMP play, right? We had the EMP spell and the EMP on the Phoenixes, kind of, yeah, preventing my Steel Balls from doing what they're supposed to do and turning off that Mechanical Division tech. But you can see that when we do manage to get it off, simply by adding some Photon coating, we were actually very much ahead. Yeah, interesting game, right? Because this started out as Stormcaller pack near the towers, and then on the first unit drop, typically it is more so going to be around 3, around 4, but I have found myself trying to make a pivot, because it can catch the opponent off guard, and sometimes they will simply be positioning, expecting a long-range standard fight. So you can simply say, no, that's not what I'm going to be doing, and use the unit drop to your advantage to kind of switch things around. Anyway, if you like this, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of this particular game. Have you tried out a bunch of different strats with buildings? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Make sure to put it down there. If you want to stay up to date with latest content, please consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.